Good morning, my cookie crumbs, and don't mind me, I'm just throwing yet another spaghetti noodle to the wall to see if it sticks. If it sticks, I guess we'll be doing a future series. If it doesn't, then womp womp. I guess we'll try again in the future. Alright, here we go. Enjoy. Shota had been patrolling this abandoned mining town for a while now. Why anyone would patrol an abandoned mining town that has been rotting away for hundreds of years, Shota didn't understand. But he wasn't questioning it. According to sources, there were villains that were hiding out here. And they needed to conduct a raid. Other sources say that the town was just simply haunted. No villains, nothing, just haunted. Other sources say that there were lost children here. Whatever the case, Shota had been assigned to it and was taking a look around. There didn't seem to be anything, and after a few hours, he was bored. He searched most of the buildings and couldn't find any traces of any gangs, villains, or any criminals of sorts. Sure, some of the abandoned buildings had sleeping bags, empty food cans, and what have you, but Shota figured that those were just camps for homeless people. You know, just looking for safe and places to sleep for the night. Suddenly, Shota spotted something in one of the alleyways. Two little kids. Well, two little babies, essentially. The purpled-haired kid was bigger and taller and was holding the hand of a smaller green-haired boy who looked no older than 1. The purple-haired kid looked no older than 2 or even 3. The purple-haired kid was rummaging through empty bins and what have you, looking for food for what he assumed was the smaller one. The smaller one looked sick and malnourished, even tired. The purple-haired one looked concerned, not for his safety or not for himself, but for the little one. The purple-haired one sighed and picked up the small green one. He could hear him whisper promises of finding food soon, but for now they should find shelter as it was going to rain. And the purple-haired one wasn't wrong. Shota could see a storm rolling in. He pulled out his phone and pulled up the forecast, and sure enough, there was a storm. A 90% chance, and it was going to start raining soon. He could smell the moisture. He could also hear the thunder in the distance. Thunder that was getting closer and closer. He hopped down from the building and slowly walked up to the children. He placed his hands in a surrender position, hoping to not scare them. "Hey, kiddo, everything okay?" he asked. The purple-haired one took steps back. He set down the green-haired boy and stood right in front of him. The green-haired one started to sob. He was scared. He didn't understand what was going on and who was that man. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I want to help." The purple-haired boy scoffed at that. No adult has ever helped them. Why would they? "Come on. I just want to help, I promise." The purple-haired boy still looked skeptical and took the green-haired boy and bolted. Aizawa knew he should go after them, but he decided to play this out. He decided to treat this like a stray cat situation. Just bide his time a little until the cat trusted him enough. A few days had gone by and the green-haired boy looked even sicker and had a cough. It was awful and it broke Shota's heart. But the purple-haired boy was just too untrusting. But the green-haired boy, he knew he needed help and needed help quick. Listen, the little one needs help. He's sick, really sick. That cough, that's not a good cough. He could have a sickness called pneumonia, and it's deadly to little guys like him. Hitoshi looked back at the green-haired boy, very concerned, and started crying. Hitoshi, while he didn't want to trust anyone, especially not with his brother, he knew his brother needed help. He was too sick for him to take care of, and Hitoshi didn't know how to take care of him. Hitoshi picked up the little green-haired one and placed him in Shota's arms. Shota stood up slowly and carefully. Hey, little guy, we're gonna get you some help. Ooh, and a fresh diaper. Come on, let's go, he told the purple-haired one. He held out a hand, and the purple-haired one hesitantly took it. The purple-haired one had a tiny hand wrapped around two of his fingers, and he led the two out of their safety, out of their haven, the only home they ever knew. Hitoshi was worried, but he was more worried about Izuku. He didn't want to think about it. He already lost family members. He couldn't lose this one. They were at the hospital and Izuku was sleeping peacefully in a crib in the NICU. Shota was right. The poor baby had pneumonia and doctors weren't really giving him a penny for his life. They gave the poor baby a bath and a fresh diaper, and they did the same with Hitoshi, although they found that Hitoshi was potty trained. Hitoshi turned out to be 4, not 3. Hitoshi could also speak, but only spoke to the baby. Hizashi cried, full on cried, when Shota told him what had happened. Hizashi one night then burst into the hospital room with adoption papers and proudly proclaimed, "Adoption plan, let's go!" Shota didn't mind. I mean, they had been talking about adopting for quite some time. But could they really take care of 2 littles? They had only planned on adopting 1 little. But it appears that Izuku and Hitoshi were a package deal and nothing was going to separate them. Which was fine. They didn't plan on separating them. That would be cruel. Hitoshi was currently talking to the infant who was sleeping, whispering sweet nothings to the babe, and also trying to climb into the crib, but was failing miserably. Shota just grabbed the purple-haired boy and sat in front of the crib with him. This way he could continue to whisper to his brother, and Shota could continue talking to his husband. The nurses and doctors came and went, and they sighed. They said that the poor baby wasn't getting any better, but was getting worse. True enough, the baby took a turn for the worse. now sleeping restlessly with a high fever, and his poor tiny lungs, which were already underdeveloped, they found. They found that the kids' names were Hitoshi, Shinzo, and Izuku Midoriya. Izuku had been born prematurely and had underdeveloped lungs. The pneumonia was kicking the poor baby. Hisashi was crying, and quite harshly. It was unfair of fate to take an infant so young. Hitoshi was crying. He knew what death meant. He saw his own moms die right in front of him. He might be 4, but he wasn't stupid. He didn't want his baby brother to die. What would he do without him? That was his baby. He found him. It wasn't fair. It's not fair, Hitoshi said in a small voice, talking for the first time. What's not fair, sweetheart? Hisashi said, crouching down in front of him to where he was eye level. That's my Baba. It's not fair. I found him. And he's leaving, like my mom's. Oh, sweetheart. The doctors are doing everything they can to make him better. Why is he leaving me? I don't want him to go. Oh, honey. Hisashi just pulled the little purple-haired one into a tight hug, and the purple-haired one just snuggled into him. Come on, sweetheart. You've been in this room for far too long. Let's go get some fresh air. Hitoshi wanted to protest, saying that he couldn't leave his brother alone, but somehow knew that the tall blonde man was right. He needed some air. He needed to breathe. It felt too hot and stuffy in the room, so he agreed. He nodded and went with the man. Shota looked at the poor babe after the two left. He lowered the side bar and gently brushed a finger on the infant's cheek. Shota thought it was so crazy how the 1-year-old was still so tiny. His entire hand could fit right over his face, and he could practically touch his fingers at the back of the infant's head. Hey, baby, Shota whispered. I know you're fighting a really hard battle, but your brother misses you. And I know we only met, but my husband and I miss you. My husband and I want to adopt you. We want to take you home so badly, but you're so sick. I know you're tired, and if you can't stay, then your brother will understand one day. But I know you're a fighter. I know you'll come back around. Something tells me that you have the heart of a warrior. So fight, little man. Fight with everything you've got. Show this pneumonia what for. Show it who is the true boss. But rest, baby. Rest. Hisashi and I are here. You're safe. We gotcha. Sometime later, Hisashi brought in a sleeping Hitoshi, now calm and in a peaceful state of sleep, at least for the time being, they hoped. Hisashi sat in the rocking chair and continued to rock his sleeping Hitoshi. Eventually, Hisashi fell asleep, and Shota stayed awake with the infant. A couple of days had gone by, and the doctors were astounded. The baby had rallied. Hitoshi was so happy he was bouncing on his feet. His baby brother, he was getting better. Hisashi took Hitoshi to the cafeteria so he could pick out a treat. And Shota looked towards the babe. Good job, baby. I knew you had the heart of a fighter. Now keep fighting. If not for yourself or your new dad's, for your brother. He needs you, baby. Now keep fighting. We still got you. Over the course of 2 weeks, Izuku made an incredible recovery. The baby was now sitting up and happily babbling to his older brother. Izuku had just learned to walk, according to Hitoshi, and was trying to teach him how to talk now. He'll talk in his own time. That's right, sweetheart. Ooh, just look at you though, Izuku. You're so cute. Izuku scrunched his nose up at that. Sure, he liked the big, tall, blonde man, but he wasn't a fan of the baby talk. He might be a 1-year-old, but dang, dude. Shota laughed at Izuku's little scrunched up face. I don't think he likes the baby talk, Hisashi. It's my baby. I can talk to him however I want. And you're too young to be this opinionated young man. Izuku just giggled at that. Well, it seems like this little guy is ready to go home, the nurse said. Here are the discharge papers. And here are the adoption papers. All approved. Izuku, Hitoshi, enjoy your new home, and good luck in the future with your dads. And congratulations. Hitoshi couldn't believe it. Him and his brother were adopted? They didn't have to live on the streets anymore? Not only that, Izuku won't get sick anymore. And if he did get sick, his dads would take good care of him. Hitoshi and Izuku were both happy to be going home. And once they got home, the two were immediately smothered by cats. Hitoshi loved cats, but they couldn't keep one on the streets. Izuku just flopped on the couch and just let the biggest black cat snuggle into him. The biggest cat was named Bertha. And she was a hefty girl. Bertha laid on top of Izuku to keep the poor small thing warm. And she started grooming his hair. Shota laughed, and Hisashi giggled and took a picture. When they tried to move the infant from the couch and to allow him to breathe because Bertha was quite heavy, Bertha hissed and swiped at him, as if to say, "This is my kitten, excuse you." Bertha continued her grooming but moved off of Izuku. Izuku was confused, but at the same time, he was like, meh. This is how I die, this is how I die. Hisashi started laughing, along with his husband and his new son. Everything was fine in Hitoshi's world now. His brother was no longer sick, he was safe and warm, and so was he. They no longer lived in the abandoned mining town that was haunted. They've spoken to the spirits before. They were quite helpful. But they didn't belong in that abandoned place. While it was their home for a while, this was their home. Izuku was now sitting up and just petting Bertha, who was purring as loud as a motorboat, now that she was done grooming her kitten. Years later, two pro heroes stood tall and proud, and two parents were watching their kiddos on TV as they did their poses of victory. They had just taken down a brutal villain, and both parents were proud. Oh, Shota, look at our darlings. How fast they grew. They had to grow sometime, but I'm quite proud of them. Our boys. I knew they would be heroes. I just knew it. Sure you did, hun. Sure you did. Aww. Cute little one-shot with Big Bro Hitoshi. So originally in this one-shot, I had Hawks adopt Izuku and Hitoshi, but when I started to record that episode, the more I spoke out loud with the story, I realized that Hawks just wasn't a good fit for this story. There's another story that I have similar to this, and I think Hawks would be better in that story rather than this one. Hisashi and Shota fit this story better than that one, in my opinion. Alright guys, I gotta get going. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.